Hi friends, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Tammy Ernest for those of you who are new, and I am a long arm quilter, and here on my channel I like to share customer finishes. You can see all of those lined up along the long arm this week, and I also share some of my personal projects. So this week on our video we are going to talk about the February Sew Sampler box. I received that in the mail. I have finished my Pressed Flowers quilt block for this month from the Sew Sampler box. I also have some updates on my Meadowlark quilt that I'm working on, and then I'm going to share all of these customer quilts with you. So let's get started. So this week I did receive the Sew Sampler box from Fat Quarter Shop, received this in the mail. This month's box is all about Kim Diehl. And if you are a Kim Diehl fan, her newest line is called Quiet Grace, and it is so pretty. This is the front. When you open up the box, has this, it always gives a hint of what colorways you're going to see when you open the box. So a lot of times the box does not necessarily coordinate with the season we're currently in. So if you know pattern designers, fabric designers, they are designing way ahead of the season. So because you as a quilter are wanting to create projects for Christmas or for fall time, earlier in the year. If they waited to put out the fall fabrics in the fall, it would be too late. You've already worked on your fall projects for the year because we're working ahead of time. So that's why you'll notice in like the February box, it's not reds and pinks and all of that. It's actually fall time. Most of Kim Diehl's fabrics tend to be that muted fall time autumnal feel, and that's what you're going to get because you're going to want to work ahead. So let me show you the pre-cut in this month's box. Like I said, this is Quiet Grace by Kim Diehl. Kim Diehl is a designer for Henry Glass, and we've mentioned before that each one of the fabric companies calls their 2.5 by 42-inch length something different. Moda calls them jelly rolls. Riley Blake calls them roly-polies, and then Henry Glass, it just says this is a design roll. So it's the entire line of Quiet Grace, and they've cut it into strips, 2.5-inch pieces, so that you can use those in projects. And I'm going to go ahead and open this up so you can see the fabrics a little bit better. I have actually started using some of Kim Diehl's Quiet Grace line because of the Somerville Quilt Along I'm doing with my Quilt Circle membership. I'm using many of these colors, not quite so much the pinks and the greens, but I know I did pick up some of these. I know I picked up that one to use on my Somerville Quilt Along, so I have used a few of her colors from Quiet Grace is what I'm trying to say. So you can see autumnal colors in that they're the muted, some browns and the oranges, but then she's thrown in some brighter ones. There's some pinks and some more of a tealy type green. This is really cute. So you could do something, you know, there's your deeper reds, and then, you know, a deeper green as well, and some browns. But very classic Kim Diehl. I love her designs, love her fabrics, love her quilts. I have just about every book she's published and just so pretty. And then a little bit lighter pinks there, but then they coordinate so well with that. Get those pops of brighter colors, kind of give a lot of interest to the colorway there. And then you've got your low volumes as well. Just a few of those included in here. So very pretty. So pretty. This will look very beautiful up on my new shelving units. Had my daughter decorating my room for me today. How does it look? I love what she did. It's so fun sometimes to have somebody else do your decorating because they see things in a new way. I tend to put things back, you know, in the same place I had them last year. And so when you're redecorating, it's always fun to have some new eyes and new perspectives. So my daughter came in and did some work for me. So this would look really cute up on one of those shelves. Excited to use that. The pattern that goes along with that they sent with that. This is a Fat Quarter Shop exclusive. Usually is not available unless you get the box. So if you're liking this design or this pattern, you may want to get one of the February a la carte boxes as long as they're available. So this uses the strip roll, and then you just need some binding, and that is all you need for this quilt. Really cute. Really cute. Like that. It measures 39 by 42. They also have a second, on the back of the top insert, there is an additional pattern for a table runner that uses the Quiet Grace line as well, and there's always a good coupon on the back. So if you are interested in that, you'll want to subscribe to the Sew Sampler box. So this month also in the box, there is this cool LED craft light. This is Vivilux, and this comes with, so this is rechargeable, no cord attached. So it comes with the Velcro that you can attach to the side of your machine or wherever you're wanting to put this. You would put half on your machine and half on this side, so that when you are ready to recharge this, you can pull this off. They include all of the charging cords that you would need for that. It looks like a standard charging thing. The Velcro is included as well. So everything you would need. It says that this would last for 14 hours continuous use. If you sit at your sewing machine that long with the light on, you need a break. It also has two settings. There's a full brightness. I don't want to blind you. There's a full brightness, and then there's also a dim. That would be nice if you're just wanting to leave a little light on in your sewing room, I guess. It would only last 14 hours before you'd have to recharge it, so that may not be the best. But it's a flexible cord here, very stiff but flexible. So it's not gonna, you're not gonna stand it up and it's gonna droop. It's gonna stay where you want it. And very tiny little light. It's an LED light, so you can point it exactly where you need. So if this was on the side of your sewing machine, you'd be able to point it right down at the needle to give very bright light. If you're like me, the older I get, the more light I need to see. It just makes things better. It just makes things better. So that is included in the box this month. Also in the box is this set of number 10 quilting needles. This is by Tulip Needles. Tulip Needles has a whole line of needles. This is just one size and one type. So these are their quilting needles. They also have embroidery needles. They have applique needles. They have all kinds. So they come, inside this cute box, but then also it's in a corked container, clearly marked what the number and the type of needle it is, and then with the cork on the top to keep them safe and sound. So you could put this in your binding bag if you're using it for quilting or for your binding, and be able to use it. Now I'm looking at these needles, and I don't know if you can see, they are probably only about 1.5 inches long. So because I do have some arthritis in my hands, these needles to me would appear a little small for me to be able to handle. I've not used them yet. Then the description of them says that they're very sharp. They flow through the fabric very well in the way that they are, I don't know, ground or whatever. It's along the length of the needle, so that there's very little friction as it goes through the needle. I have no doubt that they're very sharp and would work really well. I'm just a little concerned about the size of them for me. With the arthritis in my hands, they may be a little small for me to hold on to, but I will certainly give them a try. And it says they have a large eye on it. It's fairly large, not super, but it would work. So you'll have to go check out Fat Quarter Shop for all of the different sizes. And if you're looking for needles, they have tapestry needles, embroidery needles, applique needles, all different sizes, all different types. So you'll want to check that out. Also included in the box this month is Gutermann thread, and doesn't that match perfectly with this Quiet Grace colorway? So pretty. Says you can use this for quilting, for binding, for piecing. It's a 50 weight thread, very strong, 100% cotton. I love the color. Love the color. This was a light copper is what it said, and I'll link that down below. Very pretty. So those are the contents of the box, except for one more thing, and that would be the Pressed Flowers block. This is block number 11. We're getting so close to having all 12. This was a really fun block. This is Cosmos, and let me see. Best time to plant Cosmos is spring after the last frost. We're almost there. So this one used 4 different fabrics. We have the low volume and the bright pink and the light pink. And then, you know, they use the Bunny Hill Designs Sugarberry line. I am using pinks and browns from my stash. And so I changed the grayish color here of the leaves. I have changed all those to browns. So let me show you my finished block. And then I want to talk to you about piecing on this one. Here is my finished one. As I said, I changed the colors to brown for the leaves and the stem. I love this flower. It's almost dimensional. You know, you can see how this pokes out, almost like it's ahead of the other petals behind it. It's very pretty. So this is a fairly simple flower to make. If I turn it this way, you can see you have hourglass blocks, 4 of those, and you have, these are basically snowball blocks is what you have, 4 of these. By doing a different color for this middle corner, it matches up with the hourglass blocks, and that's what creates it to look like it's behind the petals of this middle block. It makes these petals appear to be behind this middle one. So, you know, very simple, snowball blocks and hourglass blocks. What I wanted to talk to you about is the hourglass blocks. So on the pattern itself, on the very back, I'm going to show it to you this way. On the back, they show that there are 3 colors for the hourglass block. Those blocks that they have you, when you see on a pattern this dimension, it means they want you to cut that block diagonal both ways. So you can see how here they have it just marked on top of it, and then here you can see a little bit here. They show it cutting apart. So actually what they say to do is for those 4 squares, they want you, I know there's only 3, but there's 2 of the dark pink, okay? They want you to, prior to piecing, they want you to cut those blocks, those squares, into 4 triangles. So let's just say, I'm going to show you something different. So if this was your block, they want you to cut it, and then they want you to piece it with the other parts. That is not my favorite way to do hourglass blocks, so I kind of brought a little bit of a demonstration here to show. First, I want to show you the hourglass block. So notice that this is 2 of the dark pink, 1 light pink, and then you have the white. So in many hourglass blocks, you'll actually have the same color on both sides. You notice in this one we have different colors on the top and the bottom, and then the same color on these 2 sides. So this may look more complicated than your average hourglass block, but it's just as simple. So what they had you do in the pattern is take your 2 dark pink, 1 light pink, and your white fabrics, and they had you cut those on the diagonal 4 different ways. I think it's easier, personally, to layer those. So instead of cutting them, I took 1 of the dark pink, 1 and the 1 white one, and then I took the other dark pink and layered that with the light pink. So I have right sides together, okay? So I have not cut these apart into the diagonals. I have left them at the size that they suggested, or that is called for in the pattern. Then what I have done, I should have done this in a darker thread so that you could see it better. But then what I've done is I've just stitched diagonally a 1/4 inch away from that middle diagonal. I didn't draw it, I just set it on my sewing machine. I've got markings on my sewing machine that show me where a 1/4 inch is. So I just run that through a 1/4 inch away from that middle diagonal line on both sides. So this is the dark pink and the light pink, and this is the dark pink with the white. Okay, so you layer those and stitch it on both sides. Now at this point, I then cut them apart. So it would be like this. So I cut them apart then and press it open. So now I have 2 white ones. I would have 2 pink ones like this. And then what I would do is I would layer these. So I'm going to do it so that the pink, the dark pink is on top of the white on this side, the light pink is on top of the dark pink on this side. I am running those seams together. So laying those seams right sides together, if you can see how I'm doing it. Right sides together, I would pin on either side of that right here, and then I'm going to stitch diagonally across those. And I've done that to this piece here. So the other 2 pieces, because you would end up with 4. So this is what I've done. Here is the light pink and the dark pink. On the other side is the white and the dark pink. I have stitched a line. You can see my seam here, and then I stitched line 1/4 inch on either side of that diagonal. And then when you cut that open, let me grab a pair of scissors. So I just have my little snippers here. But then when I cut down the middle of that diagonal, and I open that up, then I have my hourglass unit. I didn't have to stitch any pieces on their biased side at all, and I end up with that hourglass unit. Now you'll need to trim these to the size that's called for in the pattern. I cut the squares the exact size that they mentioned in the pattern, pieced it this way, and then still trimmed up just, and it says even in the directions, if you piece it the way that they say, you still have to trim it up. So it's not like I'm doing an extra step or anything. I'm just getting rid of that having to sew on the bias of loose fabric, I want to say, because I've got the squares stacked up on each other. To me, it's a little more stable. I'm stitching across a longer line. I have less seams to do because I'm putting those fabrics together ahead of time and then cutting them apart instead of cutting them and then piecing them together, if that makes sense. So that creates your hourglass unit. Now, if you were only using 2 fabrics, it would be the same concept. But because this calls for a pink on one side of it, you do have to make sure that you put the right pieces together, because so this one right here was this unit. This is the light pink and the white. That's what ends up with this half, because I cut it in half and I get that half of my hourglass unit. Now, I could make hourglass units just with this right here. So with the white and the dark pink, if I cut this in half, press those open, take these 2 pieces and match them back the other way, if that makes sense, match those things the other way, and then open up, I would have an hourglass unit that was just dark pink and white. By using another one that has the light pink and the dark pink, then I can get this hourglass unit that has one color on this side and one color on this side. So try it for yourself, okay? So to create this one, you need 1 white, 2 dark pink, and 1 light pink, or whatever colors you're doing. You'll need 4 pieces of 4 squares, all right? 2 that are the same, 2 that are different. And layer them up and then swap. Do the light pink with the white one, and you can create that hourglass unit. So that's how I did mine, and then I trimmed them up like I said, and then put them into this block, and that's what you're seeing right there. And then the snowball blocks on the sides. So really fun. So that might just be a different way you can try your hourglass units. Don't be afraid to look at a pattern and say, maybe I can do this a little different. If you're using limited fabric, you may have to be careful. I'm just using stuff from my scraps, so if for some reason it didn't work out, then I go back and I try again. But that's the way I do my hourglass units. So that's the pressed flower block for February. We have one more, and then we'll get setting instructions, and I'll be able to put that quilt top together. All right, the other thing that I have worked on this week is the Meadowlark quilt, and let me show you the pattern of that one first of all. Meadowlark Song by Kansas Troubles. And last week I showed that I had all of my blocks together. I now have the quilt top together and some of the borders on, so let me show you that. All right, so I have blocks together. There are 2 blocks to this quilt. You have this middle flower one here, and then you have the 4 9 patches put together. And this is done in squares. This is not done on point. So it looks like it's done on point when you put it together, but you can see the square right there with that flower block right there, and then the 9 patch here. I showed all those blocks last week, so if you're curious, you can go back and look at last week's video to see the individual blocks. Love when you piece them together, how you get that sashing that is on point. So, so pretty. This is all Kansas Troubles fabric. I'll link the fabric name down below. It skips my mind just at the point. I did not use the called for fabrics. Clover Blossom. Clover Blossom is the line of Kansas Trouble fabric that I used for this. I did not use the called for colors, called for line that's on the pattern, but so many of Kansas Trouble lines go together, so it's not a problem using a different one. All right, so then around the edge you can see I've got the green, the small green border, the first one, and then around that edge there's a pieced border. I have one more side to go, so let me flip this around so you can see the parts that are done. These were all rectangles with easy corner triangles on all 4 corners, green on one side, blue on the other. The green side obviously would be next to the green here, and then the blue. There are some corner triangles that are just a blue with a little green half square triangle on the edge, or easy corner triangle. Not a half square triangle, easy corner triangle. It's not the full half square. And that's the border around the whole outside edge. I have 3 of those on. The 4th one is right here. It's ready to go on. And then the only thing left after that is a blue border. Let me show you the picture of the whole quilt. So the only thing after that is the blue border. That won't take much time at all, and then it's ready to go on the long arm. So that will be on there this next week, Lord willing, and we'll get this one bound. I'm going to do the binding as the same blue. It's not this blue that's pictured here. It is this blue that you see right here. That's what the outside border is, and that's also what the binding is. I have the backing fabric. I cannot remember at the moment what the backing fabric is that I picked out. I'll have to pull it out and look. But that's ready to go. I've not pressed this at all, you can see. Besides when I did the blocks themselves, I've not pressed. Honestly, when I was ready to put the borders on, instead of pressing the entire, so you can see, a little trick here that I do. When I'm ready to put this skinny green border on, there are some spots. Let me pull this out. All right. So when I had this block together, all of these seams were already pressed open, right? When I connected it, when I pieced it along with this block, then I had, do it this way. All right. When I pieced this block, all of the seams were pressed. And then when I pieced this block, all of the seams were pressed. So when I joined these 2 blocks, I did all of the rows of the quilt. When I was ready to put on the border, the only thing I needed to press was all of the seams of the intersections of these blocks. Okay, so I did all that. Then, and I did that with this first green border. When it's time to put on this border, I did not press all of that green border open. All I needed to do at the time, because I'm still piecing, I'm not to the pressing time yet, so all I did, instead of pressing that entire green border like I needed to. All I did was press the seam right there. That was the important part, because then I can go ahead and attach this other border. I needed to press this seam to make sure it was nice and open and flat, but the rest of this I didn't need to press until I get the whole quilt done, if that makes sense. So let me show you another intersection. So, example. This is the last border I need, this last piece border I need to put on. You can tell this seam has not been pressed where I did the green border to the blocks. I have not pressed this, okay? I added this border on. Before I do this other piece border at the top, the only thing I really need to press in order to put this the next border on is this seam right here, and the same one on the coordinating one on the other end. In order to put this border on, it's not necessary that I press all of this other green border perfect at this point. I will. Prior to putting it on the long arm, I will. But when I'm adding my next border, I just look at what do I need to press in order to get that border on correctly. So at this point, the only thing I need to press is this seam and the seam at the other end. Then the next thing there'll be is to put the blue border on, right? And so the blue border is going to go, the first one's going to go, I believe I do the side ones first. So if I'm going to do the side ones first, this seam, this right here does not necessarily need to be pressed in order for me to put the outside border on. What needs to be pressed is this seam right here, because that one needs to be pressed open or one side or the other. With all of the different fabrics right there, I will probably press that one open. So in order to put on my first blue border, the only thing I really need, all these others have already been pressed when I attach that border. So all that I really need to do is the last seam that I created, I need to make sure that that is pressed open. I'll press that open, I'll add that border on, then at the next time when I put the border along the top, this seam is already pressed open because I did that earlier. I will need to make sure that the seam is pressed, that where I'm adding that blue border on here. I don't have to necessarily do all of the pressing this entire border at this point. What I will do is once I have all the borders on, then I will bring this down to my larger ironing board, and then I will press all of those long seams open. When I'm adding borders, there's no reason to take that time to press those borders at that time, because it's not going to affect my piecing at that time. So it's just a time saver for me, that I can just very quickly take my small little iron, my little ironing space next to my sewing machine, press that little seam open where I need to, and then attach that border. And then once I'm all finished, then I can go back and make sure all of these are pressed open, or one side or the other, however the pressing goes. Okay, I don't know if that makes sense, but I don't take the time to press all of those long seams just to add the next border. I only take the time to press the seam that I need to right there. So I just have the other piece border, and then I have the larger blue border, and it's ready to go on the long arm. All right, I think we'll go on to customer quilts. Here is the first one. I have several quilts from Debby this week. If you remember the peacock panel from last week or the week before, the same line of that, Benartex, I don't know if I'm saying that right, has a cat line as well, and this is called a Catitude panel. This one has the black background. The one I was able to link in the below actually has a white background. So real fun. The cats all have like paisley and pearls, You can see on the border there. So Debbie's really just given me the panel and asked me to quilt the panel. She has this pretty cat, coordinating cat print on the back. For the pantograph, I chose what's called Whisper. Whisper has a lot of the same features that are on this panel. It has the paisley swirls. It has some bubble, what I would say pearls, what looks like in this, because it kind of matches the ones on the cat. I did use a dark gray thread on this, but on top of the black and the dark purple, it really appears a lighter gray. Thought this was the perfect pantograph for this, those kitty cats, just very majestic. Just added a lot of those same pearls, a lot of the same paisleys, some swirls. It'd be a beautiful wall hanging. All right, let me move on to another one of Debbie's. Debbie also sent this cute little baby quilt. Now this is super simple. So again, quilting does not have to be difficult. Last night we had our Quilt Circle live show and tell. It's something we do once a month, and one of the members showed a baby quilt very similar to this, and that it was just strips of fabric. If you get down to the end and you only have, you know, a 4-inch strip, you know, 30 inches wide, what can you do with that? Do several other prints that are coordinating, maybe put a coordinating print in between each one, and you have another baby quilt. It's just so cute. So this one's all teddy bears. You can see how she's fussy cut this, if it's a panel or if it's yardage, I'm not sure. But you can see that repeated several times, and then she's joined an orange strip in between those. In the middle, she's done a red. But again, it's that same panel piece, fussy cut on those lines, and then with a larger one in the middle. All coordinating fabrics. What a cute baby quilt. Be perfect to lay out on the floor. Now the pantograph, I chose the same bear theme. So let me just show you the back. I think that would be best. The back is a pieced backing. And the pantograph is called Teddy Love. And I just thought this went perfect with the bears on the front. So you can see the teddy bear holding his heart out. Very sweet, delicate. And the thread color, I went with a light blue on the front. And instead of winding bobbins in the light blue, I actually used a gray in the bobbin. Felt that that hue was just about the same, and it looked fine on the back. Kind of gives it a blue tint, I think, or I thought gray was a little dull for the front, so that's why I went with the blue. I thought that brightened it up some, just a little more playful, but then didn't feel the need to actually do blue on the back, taking the time to wind a bobbin. I just used the pre-wound gray ones, and it looks really good. All right, I have one more of Debbie's. This one was a lot of fun to work on. So each of these middle parts of the star are fussy cut from a panel, and then she's done the star around it, each one alternating red and green stars. Some vintage looking scenes there, just so pretty, so fun. The little children sleeping, coming down in the morning, just very vintage feel to it. And then she had the muslin. It's not a muslin, it's actually, I've seen this fabric before. It's a low volume, but has almost like a fir pine type of feel to that, and then a couple borders around the edge. For the pantograph, because I just felt that this was a vintage type feel, we went with this pantograph that's called Christmas Star, and this looks like vintage Christmas bulbs. Love the star in the middle, kind of repeated that star pattern that is in the piecing, but it does very much have that vintage feel of the Christmas bulbs. Really cute. The backing, she actually took more of those panel pieces and did across the back. She did a little bit of piecing in between each one, just a little square and a square piecing between each of the panel pieces, and that's across the middle of the back. So very fun. This is just a really cute quilt to be great to have out at Christmas time, even to use on the table or something like that. Love it. Very pretty, Debbie. All right, let's move on to another one. Since we're on the Christmas theme, I thought we'd go ahead and jump to Shelley's. This is Holiday Snow Village, and this was designed by Bono. I am sure this was done as a kit because you have all of these specialty pieces that have names. These are all specialty pieces for like the stained glass windows, for the signs on all of the houses. Just all of the different specialty pieces. Those are specialty prints, so you'll have to pick those up as a kit for this. I was unable to find any of these still available, so you might have to do some searching if you're wanting to do it. The fabrics themselves mentions, Shelley did send me parts of the pattern, which is very helpful. And it mentions that some of the fabrics are Northcott Stonehenge, so some of the buildings are from that. Moda Scapes are some of them too, because it adds some of the dimensions to the buildings and to the rock or the wood feel. And then also this, the background print gives it that very snowy feel, and I believe this is a Wilmington print. So like a light blue with some snowy, just feels like a winter scene. So let me pull this in closer so you can see some of these. So this is what I mean by some specialty pieces. So this part right here that says Town Park, this is printed on whatever fabric this is. Shelley has glued these down. I didn't have any or like adhesive, they're adhesive down. But then the post that it's on, that is pieced. The tree is pieced, this lamp post is pieced. Then you have like this gazebo here. The gazebo itself is pieced, but then the garland across the top, that is pre-printed, and the carolers are pre-printed. But you can see some of these prints, how it gives the wood effect to the posts and to the wood decking of the gazebo. So some of those prints give you that feel. Here is the quilt shop. So all of these stained glass windows, those are all pre-printed, but the house itself is not. The quilt block is pre-printed, but and even the little awning sign that it's hanging from is pre-printed, but the house itself, the shop itself, is all pieced together. You have a brewery over here. This window panel, that is actually pre-printed as well, so that it looks like the chairs sitting in the window. So a whole holiday village. There's even a whole train across the bottom. That's really cute. Really, really fun. For the pantograph, we went with, this is Maureen's Curls and Swirls. Just wanted to continue on with that whole Snow Village theme, so you can see that on the blue. It's really pretty. I went with a cream color fabric. There is some muslin on the edges, and just with the colors, white was too bright, so the cream color works really well. and just the swirls and curls and swirls is what it's called. So it just gives that whole blustery winter effect. Very, very pretty. A large quilt. This measures, oh, I want to say the finished one was 60 by 80, and Shelley added a couple borders around the X. Actually, all of this muslin around the X, around the edges, is extra. The pattern itself ends with the red, but I like that extra frame that Shelley put on there. So pretty. So, so cute. All right, let's move on to this little turtle one. This adorable quilt. Look at those little turtles. This is called Slow Down, and this is obviously a Yoder fabric and pattern. This is in her book, Oh Happy Day. You can find this baby quilt. This measures 43 by 55. It's just the cutest little thing. All those turtles there, so pretty. So, so cute. Love the fabrics. Very, very dainty and soft. So, so cute. Love it. All Yoder. Spring Brook is the name of this fabric line that is used, and very classic Yoder, the blues and the greens and the yellows. Got some bumblebees in there and some little flower prints. Love the orange peel fabric, the gray and the green, and then there's some solids in there as well. The white background fabric is a white solid, and then you have this blue flower border. And this is Candace's quilt, I didn't mention that. For the backing, Candace did something I have not done before. This was new to me. Candace does some of her own quilts, but needed this one done for an event coming up. So she actually sent me a micro fleece blanket, and this is something I had not done before. I did some research on it and thought it would be okay to do it. You know, when you're working with several $1,000 machine, you don't want to do something that's going to harm it. So I did some research to be sure it was okay. This micro fleece blanket is actually very similar to Minky. It's two-sided, where Minky is really just one-sided. This is polyester micro fleece, and Candace sent me this. This is Bedsure, and I've linked this down below. This was a full-size blanket. They come in different sizes, and so very similar feel to Minky. There is one side that's a shorter nap, one side that's a little longer nap. And so you can kind of, I don't know if you can see that on camera or not, but the shorter nap would be what I would consider the outside. The little longer nap is on the inside. When we did this quilt, we did the shorter nap to the outside, so it's very similar to Minky. The only thing that is more of a hindrance with this, stitches out very similar to Minky. The only hindrance I felt was that it does come with this, it's a finished blanket, you know, so it comes with this whole big binding on the edge. And so when Candace was asking what size to send, I really needed some extra because, you know, that right there is too thick to attach to the leader. So I actually had to attach it farther in into the blanket there. So the advantage of using this, I guess, if you can't find a Minky in the color that you want, or you can't find a Minky in the size that you need, because these micro fleece blankets you can get, you know, I think full queen, king, I don't know how big they go, but without having to piece Minky. If you can't find the size that you need, that might be the advantage. But just be aware that you do have this the edging on there, and maybe it keeps it from stretching. That's a good thing, but this was too thick to attach to my leader, so I did attach it in a little farther like that, and then I've cut off the extra. So this is Bedsure. I have linked those down below if you're interested in looking at that. The feel on the quilt, again, very similar to Minky. Maybe a little more nappy even for the short side than Minky, but it's still that same soft feel. And this pantograph is called Knit 1 Purl 2. Love this pantograph. This is just one of those that's super fun every time I do it. Just the swirls, you have 4 swirls and then they nest in with each other. Just so cute. Adds lots of texture to this baby quilt. We did use batting in here as well. I just always suggest you use batting in when you use a minky or the micro fleece. I think it just adds some more substantial feel to the quilt. If you just use minky with your quilt top, while it may be thick enough, it just feels very heavy and floppy. I think the batting, the extra batting in the middle just provides a little more stability to your quilt. Very fun, but this is it feels super good. So if this lays out on the floor with a baby, it's just that extra layer of comfort, extra layer of softness because you have the minky or the micro fleece and the batting and then the quilt top. So very pretty. Love this one, so cute. All right, let's move on to the comet quilt. Love this one too. This is Sally's Comet Quilt. This is a pattern that is in Simply Half Yards book that is put out by It's So Emma, which is the publishing side of the Fat Quarter shop. So if you like this quilt, you will want to grab that book. The fabrics are Kim Diehl fabrics. We got a Kim Diehl theme going on today. So this is the Willow Hollow line, and Sally said that she used a Fat Quarter bundle. I know she did the book was called Half Yards. Instead of doing the half yards, she actually used the darkest tones from a Fat Quarter bundle instead of 5 half yards, if that makes sense. So instead of 5 half yards, she used 10 fat quarters, which would equal a half a yard, right? Okay, and so then she used some assorted white on whites for all of the background fabrics inside the comets and the patchwork, all of the setting blocks there as well. And then her backing fabric is a flannel, and this is so cute. It just continues the theme. It says, "Twinkle, twinkle, love you to the moon and back." It has the little stars on it. This is a Timeless Treasures flannel. Perfect backing for this quilt. It's just really cute to continue the theme from the front onto the back, and a nice feel to it too. Love the crisp white feel of this quilt compared with the blues and the darker aquas. Very cute. So this pantograph is called Star Sparkle. Very similar to the curls and swirls that we used a minute ago, but this one adds in a star in there. So the same swirl, a little tighter than was on that holiday quilt, but you can see the star added in there. That's the perfect thing for this quilt. So, so cute. Now I know this is comets, but did you know there's a solar eclipse coming? If you have not heard yet, there is a solar eclipse coming across the continental U.S. in April the 8th, I want to say. It's a Monday, and it comes right over our house. I'm super excited. We've been doing a lot of research and studying and watching YouTube videos all about solar eclipses. If you can get close enough to a place where it's a total solar eclipse, so you may be in parts where maybe a partial. Several years ago here where we are, it was a partial, but I'm so excited for the total solar eclipse. If you're in driving distance, you'll want to get there because it doesn't come across the continental U.S. for another 21 years or something, I want to say. So it goes from, this time it'll start down Texas, come across Indiana and out through Maine. So it's going to be an event. You'll want to be there. So Sally will be able to use her quilt. Really cute. All right, let's move on to this one. My final two quilts today are from Sharon. So the first one is Potting Shed, and this comes from a Doug Leko book by the same name called Potting Shed. And this booklet, I've linked it down below. I found it as a PDF download. So it's about a 24-page booklet, but there are lots of projects in here. So the quilt that I'm going to show you today is Sharon's. It uses the called for fabrics, which are the Potting Shed, which is a Holly Taylor designed. It's a Moda Fabric. But in this book, you have this one. You have several smaller quilts. You have an apron. You have table runners, several table runners in here. So cute. So you can see some of the others on the back. This is the Potting Shed one I'm going to show you. This one is called Seedlings, and it uses a panel print from the Potting Shed line. As well, the Potting Shed uses it too. And there's an apron pattern, and kind of hard to see some of those, but let me show you on the inside. Like here is a table runner, and several in here. So let me see. There are 8 projects in this little booklet, so if you're interested in that, you can check out the download down below. So here is Sharon's, all of the called for fabrics. And again, like I said, this is called Potting Shed. So some things are fussy cut where you're from a panel print. You have the flowers that are, you have the cottage, the little potting shed that is, and really cute by using all the purples and the greens and the browns. The blocks are just very interesting, and it really just feels like those, even the fussy cut ones, that they're just a part of the quilt. Sometimes when you have panels, it just feels like they're kind of stuck in there, but this one is very well designed and really flows together nicely. Very pretty. The backing fabric, Sharon asked if I picked the backing fabric, and this is one of the wide backs that I have in my studio. This is a Benartex line. I love the feel of this. I'll link the line down below, but I like the quality of this wide backing. It's very silky smooth, and it went really well with the front of this, with the whole floral theme. This one has just a tad bit of greenish, goldish, the vines are on this one, along with the cream backing background, and then the vines on top are kind of a goldy, greenish color, which went really well with the purples and the greens on the front. So for the Pantograph, we went with what's called Saffron Blossom. Let me get in here close so you can see that one. The 3 floral leaves, and then it spins out to a couple. So you have the 3 floral 3 leaves that are all hooked together, and then it spins out, does a couple leaves on its own, and then back in. It nests really well together. Used a cream color thread for this one, again. And love how that just complements the whole floral theme of this one. Very pretty. So this one measures 60 by 68, a good throw size quilt, and love that. Very pretty. All right, I have one more of Sharon's. Sharon's last quilt is super large. I don't have the exact dimensions, but I want to say this was like a 90 something by 114 something. I don't know. It's super large, so I'm going to pull it in here as close as I can for you to see the fabrics and the pattern. I know nothing about. Sharon sent this in a box and just asked me to finish it, so I don't have specifics on that. It wouldn't be hard to recreate yourself. You can kind of see we're just alternating a rectangle and a square, and then alternating and putting that square on the other side with the rectangle, so it weaves its way down, and then you have long sashing down the middle and down the sides. It would be super great one that you could figure out on your own. I don't know the fabric line. This is really cute. It may be several different ones. I'm not sure, but you've got an owl print. I like how she's kind of taken this owl print right here and all of the different colors in there. Then she's pulled those out in the different fabrics. So you've got the orange, and then down below she may have some orange ones, and then you've got a little more of a golden, and so then she's pulled out some golden fabrics. So the light blues and the dark blues are more of the aqua blues, and then she's pulled those in from some other fabrics. So they're not, you know, and then even like this one, look at the plaid there. It's got those same colors, but a total different feel from the owl. So take one print that is kind of your signature print for that quilt, and then pull all your other fabrics just to match the ones that are there. So you can even see like the lighter peachy ones, how it still pulls from that, the moon in the owl print, and then the darker fabrics, some grays. She's got browns and goldens and oranges, browns with the orange circles on them. Really cute, really fun. Even some browns then with the blues and the aquas. Some stripes. It's got stripes, it's got circles, it's got checks, it's got everything. It's got florals, but it all works together so nicely. Then, so the squares here that alternate, they're a white with a little bit of a gray dot, but then all of the sashing and the borders are this print, has the same colors as that owl print. So a white background, but then yellows and aquas and blues and greens, just like a little paintbrush strokes on there. Really fun. So this one too, she asked if I pick out a backing fabric for her. So this is the one that I chose. I did a dark blue. And I kind of just did the opposite of what was on, you know, kind of like, so the potting shed one, the front of it was all greens and darker colors, and so I switched to a lighter color on the back. I thought that looked really cute. And then for this one, we've got the lighter colors on the front, so then I switched to a darker one on the back. I think that's a nice complement. The Pantograph on this one is a new one. I have not used this one before. This is my first time, and I just thought this was the perfect quilt to try it out on. So this is a Julie Hurt design. This is called Minnie, M-I-N-I, Minnie City of Fountains. So kind of like a rainbow, kind of like a Baptist fan type, but elongated vertically. You know, so like a Baptist fan, but elongated vertically. It nests in really cute together. I just thought this was a great dimension to add in. You got the squareness, the very horizontal feel of the rectangles, and then just to add in a different dimension with the fountain print is what she calls it. Minnie, M-I-N-I, so like small, City of Fountains. And you can find that on her Etsy shop. I did use a white thread on this one. With the background fabric here of all these blocks being a white print, the white really worked out well. So it is very noticeable on the back, like a whole cloth quilt on the back. Really pretty. Like that. I really enjoyed stitching this one out. This is going to be one that I use quite often. I thought this was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. And that's Sharon's quilt. All right, that is all I have for you this week. I hope you are making lots of time to quilt. If you need help with long arm quilting services, my information is down below. You can contact me. And I hope you join me back here next week, because every quilt is worth finishing. We'll see you next week.